Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Mike Geske. I'm filling in for both Bob and Joseph. Sorry about that. They are playing hooky today. With me today, obviously, is Lance and Delaney for our good Fraud Friday news. So let's start. And obviously, you know how to participate and download our certificates to show the SBA that you are doing training. And we will stop here and our top three takeaways from our Express PDK.
Well, guys, Wednesday we did a great webinar on preparing a purchase demand request to SBA. And of course, there's two different processes. One is for loans over $350,000. One is for SBA 7A loans under $350,000. And that would include SBA Express loans. On the loans that are under $350,000, you submit those guaranteed purchase packages to either Fresno, if you're in the western part of the country, or the Midwest, or to Little Rock, the Commercial Loan Servicing Center, if you're in the south or eastern part of the country. And it's pretty neat because you can use the Express PDK, Purchase Demand Kit, and in that you can submit for your wrap-up and recommendation for charge-off. Please remember, when you do a PDK, within 2 years of the date of the guarantee purchase by SBA, you have to have a wrap-up report submitted and a recommendation for charge-off. With the Express PDK, you can do it as part of the PDK. Also, when wrapping it up, it gives you 7 areas that you need to discuss in that wrap-up report, and the area to do it. You don't have to write a 20-page epistle for the wrap-up. You can write a couple of sentences in each of the 7 areas. And in making a recommendation for charge-off and referral to Treasury, unless the guarantors are protected by, as an example, a Chapter 7 bankruptcy discharge, you're going to recommend charge-off and referral to Treasury. So neat thing about the under 350 PDK, it's shorter. You can submit your wrap-up report and recommendation for charge-off as part of the PDK, and it's just a great way. One thing that I wanted to mention for those of you who did not get an opportunity to be a part of Wednesday's webinar, you can actually purchase a recording of that webinar by emailing Joseph at ColemanReport.com. And guys, it's like I keep telling people, purchase demands are coming. They're right around the corner. We've got kind of a volatile economy, and it's going to be a good thing for you to understand how to submit a PDK.
And I highly recommend it. When our webinars, once you purchase it, it's yours to keep and hold on to and reference back to as many times as you need to. And Lance is very good as well, and Bob, at answering any questions on PDK that you guys would have coming up. So, moving on, Delaney, tell us about this former Swiss Banker of the Year.
Yes, this is a fun one. Mr. Kieran Vincents was, back in 2018, investigated along with his co-conspirator. They were actually arrested, and he was in jail for a little over 100 days. Now, move forward a couple of years, and this case came to fruition. I think his trial started in either January or February. Him and his partner together were buying stocks in companies that the bank he worked for, Raiffeisen, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that very well, but they would buy stocks and then wait until their companies would purchase them, which would, of course, create quite a return on those stocks.
A little bit of insider trading.
A little bit.
Now, of course, that's interesting, and we always talk about fraud, but what's caught international attention was some of his uses of the company credit card, including about 200,000 francs, that would be Swiss money, equal to over $200,000 at strip clubs. And he claimed that those visits occurred after business dinners and events. And he says, I fully stand by that these were justified by business. In addition to that, I'm sorry?
Oh, I said, I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
He also took a woman that he met on the dating app Tinder to quite a nice dinner. It's an over $700 dinner in USD. But in this case, he was considering her for a real estate job. There was also over 4,000 USDs, a charge for repairs to a hotel room after a little bit of a fight with a strip club dancer that he was dating at the time. And then finally, there was about 28,000 USD utilized for a private jet during a cooking club trip to a Balearic island.
Well, guys, I can make a comment now. It was not unusual in the, say 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, for bankers to have a bank credit card. And it was not unusual I had one. I was a senior executive at a bank. I had a bank card. I had a bank credit card. I took people to lunch. I took people to dinner. I took people to golf. But I never spent $200,000 on entertainment. I mean, probably the most lavish thing I ever did was at Christmas time, I would buy these jelly baskets and hand them out from Webster's. Delaney, you know what Webster's is, but in Rogers, Arkansas, and hand them out to my customers as Christmas gifts. But we all remember a time in banking when, spending money on a customer, and we still can do that to an extent, but not like this guy. But what I think got him in trouble was the insider trading issues.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely. So he was given a 45-month sentence. I'm sorry, what are you saying?
Oh, no. Go ahead, Delaney.
Okay. He got a 45-month sentence, an 840,000 Swiss franc fine, almost $900,000. He had to pay about 1.7 million USD in damages to compensate firms he was involved with. And of course, he did end up having to pay the bank back for some of that lavish spending, business expenses. I love the quote from the judge here. His understanding whereby practically all expenditures of a business person fall under disposable company expenses so long as any remote connection to the business activity exists. That clearly went too far.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
New definition of banker of the year. Let's what's this? All right, man indicted for a Ponzi scheme, fraud scheme, and an SBA loan fraud. Triple threat.
So, Mr. Franklin Ray, he also had a co-conspirator, but this all revolved around a truck company. He would convince investors to give him $20,000 so that these trucks could perform delivery services, and they would be entitled to 77% of the net income of the trucks they invested in. So he would send them falsified spreadsheets, false numbers, documents to try and prove that this was a legitimate company. But of course, there was very few trucks. They made very minimal revenues from their trucking activity. And all of the payments that these investors would get in return would end up coming from newer investors in the scheme. He ended up getting about 275 investors for over 2,000 trucks, which ended up being $40 million.
I think one of the big takeaways here, guys, if you look, he attempted to give PPP loans, and it appears that he didn't. Is that correct, Delaney?
Well, he applied for about $2 million in these relief loans. Now, it never specified whether it was PPP or EIDL, but he did end up actually obtaining over $1 million in fraudulent SBA loans.
Yeah, I think the thing that's hard is, SBA loans. Obviously, somebody who was convicted of a crime in 2010 would not be eligible for a PPP loan or an EIDL loan. Obviously, in this particular case, the checks and balances for that did not work.
So his last fraud scheme, he managed to get a New York City real estate company to pay $175,000 deposit for startup costs relating to a joint venture between the two companies, his trucking company and the real estate company. Of course, once again, he lied about his numbers, all of his business experience, etc., and he ended up using the money on personal expenses, including a private airplane trip. As I'm sure you could probably guess, that joint venture was never came to fruition. So after all of this, I'm sorry.
Franklin Ray must have been incredibly charismatic to get all these people to continually give him money for these bogus business ventures.
Absolutely.
And that's rough too, because especially with trucking, a lot of those truckers are owner operators, and so I mean, the truck is expensive. And
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you're getting, you're investing and getting nothing out of it, I mean, it's just terrible. That's just not right.
Well, and I'm going to make this quick comment since we're talking about trucking. Here in Arkansas, two of the largest trucking concerns in the world exist, J.B. Hunt and, of course, the Walmart trucking fleet. They are now offering in excess of $100,000 a year for people to come to work for them and drive trucks, which even further magnifies what we're seeing in supply chain. It's not just getting the goods from overseas to the American ports and to the businesses, but there's also apparently a shortage of truck drivers to take the products to the businesses. So I just found that interesting to see. I saw an ad. Walmart, I think, is offering $120,000 base pay.
Wow.
For truck drivers.
Yeah, long haul gets paid a lot because I mean they're just turnover. You're driving 10 hours a day at minimum.
Well, Mr. Ray, at the end of all of this, had one charge of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, 4 counts of actual wire fraud, and 2 counts of aggravated identity theft. So I'm going to have to assume he might be going away for a while. And now that I've come to the end of this, let me make a note. This is alleged. This is all alleged. I probably should have started with that, but let's keep that in mind.
I'm glad you said it. Let's say allegedly. Where's Bob Coleman? Allegedly. This next one, though, was for what? PPP and EIDL, right?
Yes. So I'm sorry, I can't pronounce some of these names, so I apologize if I'm quite off, but Mujma, he was arrested back in May for trying to get over $20 million in PPP and EIDL loans. He applied at 5 different banks for 2 companies he controlled. He had fake bank documents, tax documents, insurance documents, payroll, etc. And at the time, he was actually just working alone out of his quite expensive Manhattan condo, saying that he was representing New York State and procuring COVID-19 kits and personal protective equipment for frontline workers. So he's actually, I believe he's been in jail since back in 2020, and he was finally sentenced with 4 years.
Yeah, I just, first of all, the guy obviously he was not eligible for EIDL or PPP with the information that I just heard. And additionally, I don't know what they're thinking, guys. I mean, he applied for $20 million worth of funding from PPP and EIDL. Did he not think that would stand out? Did he not think somehow they would cross-reference it? So, I mean, thankfully they caught him and put him in a safe place, jail.
I mean, to retort what you were saying, though, Lance, I mean, he was claiming to also help, PPP and frontline workers. So, I mean, it amazes me, though. It just amazes me.
You know what? It would have taken whoever was processing the loan could have called the governor's office and said, "Do you have any idea who Mujma is?" And that probably is what caused this to come to an end.
Yeah. All righty. That was, I think, our last fraud story on the agenda today. Please, we have our new SOPs available. Thank you, Lance. Lance has got one right there. Available in a softback cover on our website. We have the SOP 5010-6. Which ones do we have, Lance? We also have the
SOP 5057-2 is the other,
yep.
I think.
And we have that one, and then we have two more. I actually don't know off the top of my head which ones we have, which I feel like I should
apologize. I'm not any help here either.
The only thing I can tell you guys is I know you can get this in a PDF and search it, but I have been very excited about the opportunity to pick it up, hold it, turn to a section, highlight it. It's very nice to have.
Oh yeah, it's great. Nice format. You can take your notes, do whatever you need. It's available on Amazon actually, as we have it right here. You can look it up on Amazon.com, and it ships to you Prime probably 24 hours, Lance? What was your turnaround?
My Prime is normally, it depends. Usually I'll combine my shipments on Prime Day, but usually it's no more than 48 hours.
We also have our SBA training coming up. Lance has his class in there.
Yeah, the SBA loan closer and the servicing liquidation training are both very important for your team, as well as the underwriting training. All are great. Please get your team signed up. SBA, your bank regulators, they're all going to want to know what you're doing to train your SBA team.
And I think that's about it for us today. Let's see. Oh, webinars. There we go. I only knew I was missing one. We got our upcoming webinar. Well, actually, one of them we had yesterday, which was or Wednesday, which was the PDK right here that we mentioned earlier.
Mike, an important thing to know, like we said earlier, the PDK webinar, I know many of you did not get an opportunity to participate. And if you'd like to buy a recorded copy of that, all you got to do is email joseph@colemanreport.com.
Yep, absolutely, and I highly recommend it. It was a very good webinar. Lance had a lot of information. It was you and Joseph, right? Yes.
That's correct.
And then we have our 13th annual What You Need to Know About SBA 2022. I can read, I promise. Hospitality Financing webinar next week on the 27th of April. What can you tell us about that, Lance? I actually don't know much about that.
The hotel industry has been kind of it's been a roller coaster ride, guys. We had COVID, which had a huge impact on the hospitality industry. Many hospitality concerns did get EIDL and PPP financing, but the hotel industry is certainly making a comeback. So I think the nice thing about this webinar, and I've always said it, there's enough statistical information presented and shared in the webinar to be well worth the price of admission.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Delaney, for being here. And thank you all for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.